Chris Kyle is the U.S. Navy SEAL sniper. He is currently on a very important mission in a third world country. He is on the roof of a building looking at the path of a U.S. convoy that might be in danger. Everything seems to be going well until a Muslim woman wearing a burqa and carrying something comes into view. Chris thinks that she gives a kid a grenade, which he then takes toward the convoy, likely to attack it. Chris gets permission to shoot the kid, but his morals make him feel bad about it. After a few seconds, there is a loud gunshot, and the scene changes to Chris as a child. He is out in the woods with his father hunting. His father thinks he will be a good hunter because he has always been good at hitting the target. Chris's father believes that there are 3 kinds of people in the world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. The weak people who can't protect themselves are the sheep. Wolves attack the weak, and sheepdogs are in charge of protecting their flock. The man wants his son to protect his people from wolves by becoming a sheepdog. Chris grows up to be a young man, but he doesn't forget what his father told him. He is now a rodeo cowboy and lives with Sarah, the woman he loves. One night, he comes home from a race to find Sarah and a man getting dressed. He beats up the man and makes Sarah leave. Before leaving, she says that he is a failed farmer who says he is a cowboy. Chris tries to be cool, but he knows that she is right. His father wanted him to be a good sheepdog, but he hasn't been one. Chris hears about explosions at U.S. embassies in different parts of the world after he and his brother have been drinking all night. The fact that so many Americans have been hurt or killed makes his blood boil and gives him a reason to live. He wants to join the service, so the next day he goes to Armed Force Career Assistance. The counselor likes how determined he is and tells him he should join the SEALs, but not before reminding him that most people who want to join the SEALs give up in the first half. Chris remembers this and starts training. Aside from everything else, he is very good at shooting at targets and could learn to be a good sniper. Move along. After hard training for a month, he finally passes the test and joins the SEALs. Chris is having a good time at a bar one night. When he meets a pretty woman named Ta, they hit it off right away and end the night in bed together. Over time, they fall in love and decide to get married. On the day of Chris's wedding, he and his fellow SEALs find out that they are going to Iraq. They are happy to have reached this point and are looking forward to their first posting. Ta is worried about her husband, though, until he gives her a promise he won't come back in 6 months. The troop is stationed in the Iraqi city of Fallujah to protect the first Marines who are going door to door in a city that has been evacuated to look for terrorists. When Chris is ready to shoot the kid, the scene goes back to the beginning of the movie. Chris shoots the boy as he runs toward the group of cars. The woman who gave the boy the grenade runs to him and tries to finish the job, but Chris shoots her right through the chest, and the grenade explodes far from the convoy. Everyone praises him for keeping the Marines and the convoy alive. If it weren't for him, they would be dead by now. But Chris can't stop thinking about the dead boy. He never thought that his first kill would be a little kid who probably didn't know what he was doing. Chris stays in his spot and keeps protecting the troops as the days go by. He is the best sniper on his team, and he is so determined to stay at his post that he urinates during the Overwatch. Who said you had to pee your pants? Just not cool. After a certain day at work, he has killed 6 people, which is more than all of his teammates put together. People start calling him a legend, but Chris wonders if he is actually the opposite. Then, one day, Ta calls him and, to his surprise, tells him she is pregnant. They start taking care of each other when they talk on the phone, even though they aren't. In the next scene, the sniper team is in a meeting where they learn about Sky, a leader of Al-Qaeda. Their main targets are the leader and his followers, so if they find anything suspicious about his group, they have to act on it. The next day, the team keeps searching door to door while Chris watches over them from a distance. Everything is going fine until a soldier gets hurt. Chris decides to join the search team while the other snipers keep an eye on them. During the search, they find an Arab man living with his family in one of the supposed empty houses. The sheikh says that there is nowhere else for them to go. He wants the Americans to leave because the butcher will kill the whole family if he sees them talking to the US soldier. The butcher turns out to be one of Zika's subordinates. He could help find the main man, the sheikh, and in exchange, he will get a lot of money and a safe place to live. The next day, a military vehicle goes out to meet the sheikh again. Getting there, Chris's fellow SEALs congratulate him as Ta calls him to tell him they're going to have a boy. The driver is killed by being shot. This is when we meet Mustafa, a terrorist who is a sniper. He won a gold medal at the Olympics and is known for making shots that seem impossible. He is also the one who attacked them. The car crashes because it doesn't have a driver. Still on the phone, Ta starts to worry and asks Chris if he is okay, but all he hears back are gunshots. Chris finds a place to hide and keeps an eye on his rivals. The butcher takes the sheikh and his family hostage and then kills his son with a drill in a brutal way. The sheikh runs to help the kids, but he is shot and killed on the way. Chris can't attack the enemies because Mustafa keeps shooting at him because he knows where Chris is hiding. In the end, the butcher and Mustafa both leave without getting hurt. After a few days, Chris and his team go back to their own country. Ta is so happy to see that your husband is alive and well. But after a few days of living with him, she sees that he is not the same person he was before he went to war. He has become a grumpy man who complains about everything and has forgotten how to enjoy life. It's obvious that the things he saw and the things he had to do have changed him as a person. In the next scene, the couple is coming back from the hospital. Chris turns the car around when Ta goes into labor. A few hours later, a beautiful boy is born at home. Chris is encouraged by Ta to talk about how he feels and what he has done. She thinks he will feel better if she tells him everything, but he says he doesn't want to get into her head and ends the conversation. He doesn't want her to know that his problem is that their baby is clearly sick. Soon after that, he hears that their team is going back to Iraq. Ta doesn't want him to leave, but they know he will do his job well. When they got to Iraq, they were told that their job was to find the killer and Chris was in charge of the team. This time, Chris finds out that Okita has put a price on his head because he has killed a lot of their people. During the first patrol of butchers, who they think are residents, they find a family. The family's head says that they have no idea who the terrorists are. The team believes him until Chris sees a mark on his elbow that looks like he was hurt in a war when no one was looking. Chris looks around his room and finds heavy weapons and bullets hidden in a floor compartment. The man is caught and in right away, so as not to kill him. He tells the soldiers that he will help them get into the building where the butcher is. In the next scene, the soldiers move around the building carefully. When the man knocks on the door, his fellow terrorist opens it for him. He dies right away, and the man dies right after him. When he tries to grab a gun, the team goes into the house and finds bodies that have been cut up. It's clear that the butcher did this. Soon, the terrorists see them and fire back. The shootout gives the killer a chance to get away through a tunnel. When Chris goes back to the US, he finds it hard to get back to his normal life. Loud noises startle him and remind him of the war. While he stays quiet about his pain, Ta has their second child. Chris goes to see his new daughter in the postnatal ward, where he sees the nurse caring for another child while his daughter cries. He goes crazy over the small thing and starts shouting at the nurses. Ta notices that he acts in a strange way. She tells him often that he never seems to be in the moment and is always thinking about something else. She wants him to talk to her and tell her what's going on inside of him, but he isn't ready to talk about it just yet. Plus, in the next scene, he's still very angry about all these fake babies. Chris's group is back in Iraq looking for the van of the butcher. When their enemies start shooting, they respond by running to the nearest building so they can shoot back from a better vantage point. Chris's friend is suddenly killed by a bullet. Biggs. The group takes care of Chris while he rushes the injured soldier to the base in the vehicle. After making sure he gets the care he needs, the soldiers went back out to find the terrorists. This time, in fury, they become killing machines that kill every enemy they come across. At one point, they stop at a strange house to look for more enemies, but a soldier named Mark is killed when terrorists ambush them outside. Later, the team brings Mark's body back home and goes to his funeral. Chris says that he read a letter that Mark had written right before he died. He says the letter killed him because the person had already given up on life before he died. Chris is going back for revenge because of the letter. He can't let his friend's sacrifice go to waste. Ta tries to change his mind by begging him to stay for the sake of his children. Even though she tells him he might come home to an empty house, Chris doesn't listen. When he gets to Iraq, he learns that big old people have died during surgery. Chris is on a normal mission when he sees a man with a rocket-propelled grenade getting ready to attack the convoy. He kills him with a shot, but then he sees a kid trying to pick up the grenade to finish the job. Chris hopes he won't have to kill another boy to finish his job. When the kid can't carry the heavy prop, he runs away. He and his team are told at the base that the government is trying to build a wall around the city, but a terrorist has been shooting at them from more than 1,000 yards away, which makes the team think it is Mustafa. The soldiers are told to kill the sniper no matter what, even though a sandstorm is coming and will block their way. The group goes to protect the soldiers who are building. They take their positions and aim in the direction they think Mustafa is, but he surprises them by shooting from the opposite direction and killing a US soldier. Chris quickly tells his people to switch places and get in line with his orders, just as he had planned, even though the others say it's impossible to shoot from that far away. He sees movement about 21 yards away. Chris says that Mustafa is the target. He speaks quietly for Biggs. Before pulling the trigger and killing the enemy sniper, he said something under his breath. But this means that the other terrorists hear the gunshot and rush to the roof. Both sides get hurt very badly in the fight that follows. The soldiers are almost out of bullets when a sandstorm hits. Chris thinks he's about to die, so he calls Ta and tells her he's ready to go home for good. But as soon as he hung up, they decided that he had used the storm to hide and run away. During the chaos, Chris is shot, but luckily, soldiers see him running toward them and pull him up. He lives, so he probably doesn't want to go home anymore. A few months have passed, and Chris is drinking in a bar when his wife calls him. He still has post-traumatic stress disorder from the war, and loud sounds scare him. Ta tells him to see a psychiatrist, which is very helpful. He also joins a group of war veterans for support, and talking to them makes him feel like he has seen over time, even though he can't go back to being young and carefree. He gets over the trauma and starts to live life freely. After everything he has been through, Chris gets back in touch with his family and moves in with them to a new house. He also takes his son hunting, just like he did when he was young. Like me, become a sheepdog, son. Put 1,000 people to death. On February 2nd, 2013, a young ex-Marine with a lot of problems comes to see him. Chris tells his wife he'll be home by the evening, but he never comes home. Chris was trying to help the ex-Marine, but it turns out that the ex-Marine killed him. In the last scene, we see a picture of how things really are. Chris Kyle, his funeral, and how Ta spoke about him.